Debunk Harry's latest lies in Heart of Invictus. Queen's words once again wreak havoc on him. As Harry and Meghan have launched the new documentary Heart of Invictus, it seems that once again Harry's complaints are not quite adding up. We'll never forget what the late Queen said about Harry's little claims. Recollections may vary, and now scrutiny is being applied to his latest claims on Netflix. First of all, Harry claimed there was no support and no one could help when he was suffering from PTSD after the war. He said, "I didn't have that support structure, that network, or that expert advice to identify what was actually going on with me." Alright, well, reality shows a different story. In 2017, Harry said in an interview that his brother had helped him after their mother passed away. He told The Telegraph's Bryony Gordon in her podcast Mad World that Prince William had encouraged him to seek therapy. Harry said, "For me personally, my brother, bless him, he was a huge support to me. He kept saying, 'This is not right. This is not normal. You need to talk to someone about stuff. It's okay.'" In Harry's memoir, Spare, he also talked about his former private secretary, Jamie Lothar Pinkerton, is a no-nonsense type officer who helped organize his second Afghanistan tour, and Harry said that he trusted him right from the start. And then he also talked about another secretary, Ed Lane Fox, a one-time captain in the Household Cavalry. He had, according to Harry, a knack for seeing to the heart of things. Sources claim that this proved that Harry had been surrounded by people who had the right experience, and they tried their best to help him. Harry also claimed that the UK media ignored stories about British soldiers who were wounded in Afghanistan. Discussing seeing injured soldiers in 2008, Harry said, "I was angry that the media weren't covering it." Alright, well, let's get the facts straight. British military deaths and injuries in Afghanistan were extensively covered, and they made front-page headlines. Reports were put together from official announcements that were published by the Ministry of Defense, and they provided photos and tributes from commanding officers. To this day, the BBC website still lists all 136 UK troops who lost their lives there. In fact, there were many war correspondents who came just as close, if not closer, to the action than Harry did, and they had to lose their lives to pay for that. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, 79 have been killed covering events in Afghanistan since 1992, and many more suffered severe injuries. Harry also complained that the media ruined his deployment to Afghanistan. Well, that's absurd. The fact is, the British press diligently kept his 2008 tour a secret. His cover was actually blown by the US website The Drudge Report with a world exclusive about Harry the Hero, and also by the Australian women's magazine New Idea. Harry told the producers at Netflix that he was so angry because he had to be evacuated for the safety of himself and other soldiers after his deployment was revealed. Well, I do wonder if Harry has considered that maybe the soldiers are angry with him for talking about how many people he killed. Or what about Harry's family? Does he think maybe they're angry with him for accusing them of things that aren't even true? This is what happens when you tell too many lies. You forget what you said, and there's always going to be somebody out there who remembers it better than you can, and usually you're going to get caught in your lies. It is pathetic how Harry has made it all about him, instead of celebrating all those injured fighters that struggle with their body and their mental health every second of the day. Please, Harry, grow up and show some respect. The late Queen certainly said it best, didn't she? Recollections may vary. Well, Harry's recollections depend on who is asking the question and how much money is involved. Millions of people have lost their mothers. You know, actually, a good friend of mine lost her mother at a young age too, and she didn't act like that. She didn't allow it to be an excuse for some nasty behavior. Diana would be disgusted if she could see Harry today. I mean, he is blaming all of his problems on his late mother. He needs to look closer to home. In fact, he needs to look right in the mirror. We are coming close to the anniversaries of the deaths of both his mother and his grandmother, but Harry only knows how to make stuff about himself. Harry is not the only person in the world to have suffered the loss of a parent at a young age. But you know what? Most people have to move on with their lives. It seems like Harry expects somebody else to pick up all the pieces, somebody else to figure out the solutions to all his problems. There is no magic wand. A lot of it comes down to one's own thinking and actions. It's important that we do not dwell in the past. Or to think about things in a different way. Just think about how many parents have lost their children. I mean, they had to suffer that, but they might not get the chance to go to therapy, especially because they might have to pay for it. Harry acts like such an entitled jerk sometimes. And why does he never talk about William's grief about the loss of their mother? Harry is simply using his mother's death 26 years later to make millions of dollars for himself. And what are his two kids, if they're real, going to remember about their childhood? They have been completely isolated from their two families, like they're a couple of orphans. I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. What is wrong with him? I mean, it looks like that someone entered into his life and all the decent people around him, his support network, which we've all talked about before, has suddenly been completely forgotten. I think that if Harry were to take a look at his book, his interviews, and other material with a logical brain on his own, maybe he would come to understand that he has been manipulated to forget the truth. It is sad, though, to see him like this today. He's a shell of who he used to be, and that's something that his family has seen, and now it seems like nothing registers. Of course, there aren't many people who know the truth about the conversations had between the people involved, but I just can't believe a lot of what Harry says. He's always contradicting himself. His truths seem to change to suit his mood at the time. While trauma support for members of the armed forces can be and has been patchy, still, trauma risk management, also known as TRIM, has been in use in the UK military before and during the Afghanistan conflict. But it might not help Harry because it requires some engagement. I simply cannot believe that Harry didn't participate in the process, at least that he was offered or required to engage. And I also cannot believe that on a constitutional and personal level, Harry wasn't offered support on his return by the family's medical team and by some close family and friends. See, I don't think that Harry is always based in reality. It always is this victim story. Poor me, everybody's against me, it's always been like that, nothing good ever happens for me. I do know people like this, and it seems like they have a really sick way of viewing the world. They always forget positive things that actually did happen to them. They're always quick to see the negative. They like to moan, they like to complain, they lack insight. They ignore the positive and they just want to concentrate on the negative, even just perceived negatives that aren't even real. And if those kids are real, someday they're going to learn about all this and they're going to find out about the life they could have had if their parents were not so completely insane. Another thing I've been wondering about, do any of you really believe that Harry came up with the idea for Invictus games all on his own? I don't believe it for a second. I think the firm needed to find something to keep him busy, give him something to do, and so he found himself responsible for the games. I just don't see that he's really passionate about it. It seems like he basically shows up and that's about it. And it's a real shame that Harry brings so much negative press when this is supposed to be about the competitors. This is not supposed to be a platform for his whining and his blame shifting. And now it seems like he's really trying to overshadow the good work that people are doing. This documentary should have been about the Invictus games, not Harry's memories. It's not about him. Harry wasn't injured. He was protected like nobody else was. Harry should be ashamed of himself. Harry, not everything is all about you. Once again, your truth has changed from the 2017 version. Many people lost their parents at a young age, and most people didn't get any help with it. But you know what? Everybody else had to get on with life. And you, what do you think about Harry? Please tell me your opinion below in the comments. If you think my video is useful, don't be afraid to like and share with your friends and relatives who would like it too. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.